Happening now on Grid Tonight, Ford Racing confirmed its first three hypercar drivers. How will their unique skill sets help the Blue Oval take on the WEC in 2027? Corey LaJoie will enter the Daytona 500 in a fourth RFK Racing entry. Can LaJoie race his way into the 500 with competitive equipment? And news that just dropped a few hours ago, Hailie Deegan, she's back in stock car racing in the NASCAR world. Can she contend for wins and the ARCA West title in her second stint with Bill McAnally Racing? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambeth. With me are Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. Throughout the show, leave your comments and questions in the chat for us to display, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. Now here's Josh with our top story this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, Kobe. Good evening, Matt. Hello, everybody. So, in a special launch event to kick off the 2026 motorsport season last week in Detroit, Ford Racing announced its first three factory drivers for the 2027 FIA World Endurance Championship Hypercar program. Now, after spending time in the Ford Mustang GT3 program in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship GTD Pro with Multimatic Motorsports, Seb Priaulx and Mike Rockenfeller will be part of Ford's Hypercar program in 2027. Now, Priaulx and Rockenfeller will remain with Ford's IMSA GTD Pro program this season, but they won't run full-time anymore and scale back to the Michelin Endurance Cup races. Now, Ford have praised both drivers, calling Priaulx a pro, a pure, natural talent, and acknowledged that Rockenfeller is a veteran driver who has seen it all and won it all. The third driver announced was ex-Formula One driver Logan Sargeant. Now, Ford believes that Sargeant will be helpful because of his technological sophistication and high downforce experience being fresh out of the F1 world. They added that having an American driver back in a Ford at Le Mans feels right, and it's a nod to American motorsport legends AJ Foyt and Dan Gurney, who won the 1967 24 Hours of Le Mans overall for the Blue Oval photo courtesy of Ford Racing. Well, Kobe's with me as well. Just answer the first question first. Omi's watching. Hello, Omi. Me and him have actually, and so is Richie. Hello, guys. Me and Omi have just been doing a lap attack around the old Interlagos circuit. So let's see who wins there. Happy Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona week, gentlemen. Bring on Saturday and Sunday. Can't wait. Adam, you're right, but for someone who starts at, 20 to 7, no, I need sleep. Kobe, starting with you. Is Ford's WEC Hypercar program off to a good start with its first three factory drivers?
Yeah, I certainly believe so, Josh. I mean, the first two drivers that were announced, not really a surprise. As you mentioned, we've seen Seb Priaulx, Mike Rockenfeller involved with Multimatic Motorsports and in IMSA's GTD Pro class, and they've done a pretty good job, in IMSA and in the GTD Pro ranks. And I guess the next natural step is to move them up to the hypercar class. So it's not like they had to, initially go outside of their Ford factory driver program to find some really good drivers to put on a prototype. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about what they're going to be doing in a little while about to actually prepare for next year in the World Endurance Championship Hypercar program. But yeah, I think Ford hit the nail on the head about all three of their drivers here. You have young Seb Priaulx, who's shown a lot of potential in GT racing. It'll be fun to see what he can do to a prototype and how he'll transition to that. But as I mentioned, has a lot of talent, a lot of upside. So why not, put him in the top category, give him a go, let him see what he can do. Michael Rockenfeller, he like they said, he's been there, done that. You have your one experienced driver, in this program because Rocky's been around for a long time. He's competed in prototypes and has had a lot of success. So I think he'll be very important, to have a part of this program. And then Logan Sargeant, they had to get the big name American driver, right? To drive for Ford. And I know Logan, he initially was going to be a part of the Genesis Magma racing program, but at the time, that's when Logan was coming off of Formula One, and he, with all the pressure he was facing in F1, and then like the fallout after losing his Williams seat, during that time he originally, was going to be with Genesis Magma racing. It was a really tough time for him, and he was just like, man, I need some time to step away, to think about things. So he stepped away from motorsport for a while. We didn't even know if he was going to come back and drive. And then, he kind of resurfaced at the end of last year when he ran those two Michelin Endurance Cup races in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Yeah, he raced an LMP2 at Indianapolis. And then also ran the season finale, and them said Moto Petit Le Mans. Logan's also going to be in the Rolex 24 this weekend in a one-off, racing in LMP2. So that'll be, great to see Logan at the Rolex 24 this weekend. But his main focus is going to be Ford. And I think it's going to be really cool to see what he's able to do because, as mentioned, Ford got his big name American driver. And I'm sure Logan's going to have a lot of, following here in the States, with that Ford program when they go overseas next season. Also really special, when you're an American driving a Ford at Le Mans, especially when your name is next to the AJ Forts of the world and the Dan Gurneys. And maybe Logan, if this program goes well, someday he'll join AJ Fort and Dan Gurney as overall winners of the 24 Hours Le Mans with Ford. But all in all, I think they did a really good job by continuing their relationship with Priaulx, Rockenfeller, who they know really well already with Ford. And then, you bring in Logan Sargeant, who certainly can help out with the hybrid component of this prototype when they get down to it next year from his Formula One days.
Yeah, indeed. So, good evening, guys. Rocky, he's been there, done it, got all of the T-shirts and most of the trophies too, hasn't he, from his Audi days? And of course, was at Le Mans fairly recently, of course, with the NASCAR program, wasn't he, with Hendrick and Jimmy Johnson and Jenson Button and all that caper a couple of years ago. So we know what we get with Rocky, and he and Seb Priaulx, they were a great team last year in GTD. And Priaulx, of course, has been part of the Multimatic sort of family for a long time. And of course, his dad, Andy, sort of finished his full-time driving career, obviously mostly really known for it as a BMW man, Andy was, but he finished at Ford in the GT era. What was that? 11 years ago now, which is wild to think about. And Seb has come on leaps and bounds, Porsche Carrera Cup North America champion a few years back, and has been in and around the IMSA paddock for quite some time. I was just looking back at Logan Sargeant's limited, but he has actually a good amount of LMP2 history. 2 races in the LMS in 2021 when his single-seater career was kind of on the rocks the first time round. And then last year he did Indianapolis and Petit Le Mans with PR1 Matheson in LMP2. He's also had, where's it gone? I've lost it on the list here. Oh yeah, Le Mans Cup. He did 3 races in the Michelin Le Mans Cup in 2021 in a 9 links Porsche. So he's got plenty of, sort of fairly recent endurance racing experience. Not like he's come completely fresh out of Formula One, like we saw the likes of sort of Mick Schumacher or someone like that in the Alpine team a few years ago. So it's a stellar lineup, and by the looks of what we're about to get into, they're going to have plenty of an on-ramp to get themselves ready for that car coming in at the start of next year. And that is, of course, as you mentioned in the top there, Josh, big anniversary for Ford at Le Mans next year of that 67 win.
Jason's watching, saying Ford versus Ferrari at Le Mans, plus all the other hypercar teams. It is going to be brilliant.
You should make a film out of that. Oh, hang on a minute. They already have.
Yeah. Arguably, was it good? Was it bad? Yeah. Could it be better? I think it was actually quite good, but it could always be better because as motor racing fans and anoraks, we know exactly what was wrong with the film, and we just go, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, Josh, one last thing before we move on. I know Jason's talking about Ford versus Ferrari. How about Ford versus Cadillac? General Motors and Ford, the rivalry. And I know that we didn't have this in the script for tonight's show. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but the same launch event where they announced this news of these 3 factory drivers, there also been some banter going on in the media between General Motors and Ford. Between the Cadillac Formula One program and then Red Bull and Ford, where they're basically, where I think it was General Motors, they called the Ford Red Bull thing a market employee, and then Ford shot back and said, what's more of a market employee, integrating our people with the Red Bull engine program or the Red Bull power unit program, or been a Cadillac team racing a Ferrari engine. So it's been a nice back and forth going on between Cadillac and Ford on the Formula One side of things, and Cadillac hasn't even run this first race yet. But that's one thing I'm also looking forward to, is seeing the GM and Ford rivalry at the pinnacle of motorsport.
If it helps, I think Cadillac are 26 laps up on Red Bull powertrains at the moment, so that's fine. And they haven't crashed their car. Arvid Lindblad, who did go off at Imola a few days ago. And I looked at that. I don't know if you guys have seen the clip. It was very odd as he comes down into the first chicane at Tamburello. the rear just suddenly locks on him at the back and it spits him. It's an easy thing because it doesn't just go the first chicane. It's a left, right. As soon as he hits the brake, the car shoots to the right. So the rear is locked and you use it. So there's nothing you can do in that situation. So I'm very worried about the stability of the F1 cars. But I suppose we'll see. Thank you, Ed. Yes, it's a nice F1 livery I got last year. I'm just made of checkered flags, as you can tell. But yeah, I honestly think we're going to have the next week in the test, which nobody can see, but everybody knows is happening. We're going to hear quite a few stability issues. Then in the second test, which you can only see the last hour of every day, we're going to see cars struggling. And then by the third test, they're hoping it's all going to be ironed out, but it's really not going to be. So we're going to be in for a very interesting Melbourne. I can't wait. Getting back to our story tonight, though, because in order to prepare for its 2027 WEC campaign, Ford Racing has decided to take a similar route that Genesis Racing did last year to prepare to enter Hypercar. Now, in a partnership with Proton Competition, Ford factory drivers Priaulx and Rockenfeller will compete in the European Le Mans LMP2 class this year. They'll be joined by Jonas Reed for the 2026 ELMS campaign, and Ford is making this move to give their drivers a season of experience in prototype racing before moving up to WEC's top category next year. Now, Priaulx will also compete in WEC's LMGT3 class this year in the number 77 Proton Ford Mustang alongside Ben Tuck and Eric Powell. Now, meanwhile, with past prototype racing experience, Sargeant's main racing program for 2026 will be a spot on the other Proton LMGT3 entry in WEC in the number 88 Ford Mustang GT3. His co-drivers are going to be Gianmarco Lavorato and Stefano Gattuso. Now, also coming in, last year, Genesis Magna Racing teamed up with IDEX Sports LMP2 program to understand the natures of prototype racing, which ultimately ended up with Danny Juncker and Matthias Jabert becoming Genesis factory drivers for the 2026 season. And that's all we're going to be kicking off soon as well, isn't it? To see how they're going to perform. So, Matt, coming to you for the first time, is Ford smart by following a similar blueprint as Genesis before entering Hypercar?
Well, I mean, it kind of sort of paved the way, didn't it? And of course, along with Juncker and Jobert, we had Jamie Chadwick as part of that lineup, and we were raving about that for a lot of last year in our endurance performance index updates. And she ended up being in the top 10 at the end of the season. So for that small token, it worked out well for them. Didn't quite work for them in terms of the championship in the end of the day, but plenty of experience. And, you know, Proton, as you mentioned, they're the team that's going to be running the WEC Mustangs again next year. They've got absolute buckets of experience, mostly a lot with Porsche, but I've switched over to Mustang in the last couple of years. Christian Reed, the team boss there, and you mentioned his son Jonas, part of that driving setup. So, yeah, I mean, it's if they can do something similar, although on the world stage rather than on the European stage, to the Genesis group there with EDEX Sport last year, then it just, serves them in good stead if they can keep themselves clean. And I think for someone like Priaulx's got plenty of car experience, and he perhaps, being a Brit, will be coming to a lot of tracks in the WEC that he hasn't been to, if at all, if some of them for a long time, especially like places like Interlagos or maybe Fuji, somewhere like that. Logan Sargeant, of course, is going to be having to experience all, long stints, GT car, roof over your head, all that kind of thing, really for the first proper time. So it's all getting themselves nice and set up, but maybe we'll see McLaren do a similar thing where their run up to their Hypercar coming in as well. We saw the Mikkel Jensen news last week that he'd been their first signing. So perhaps that's something to look out for, not as a full-time thing, but maybe in the back half of the season where McLaren get themselves sorted and do a similar thing.
Yeah, I think Ford is doing a really good thing here because the Genesis model, seemed to have really worked. I know the Genesis team kind of embedded themselves with IDEX Sport in the European Le Mans Series last season, to really get up to speed on how, this ACO style racing is going to work. I know there's a small, difference between the rules you see, like say in IMSA, versus the ACO rules book. And then, then you have another rule book when you look at the SRO, system. So there's like three different major sets of rules you have to follow in sports car racing around the world. So I think that this is really great that Ford is going to, going to be, helping in Proton with this program in the European Le Mans Series. As you mentioned, Josh, worked out well for Danny Hünkel and Matthias Jobert, becoming factory drivers with Genesis and also getting that additional prototype experience. I know Jobert, kind of like Seb Priaulx, young driver, lots of upside, lots of talent. So he could be, one of the next, big things in prototype racing, if all works well, because there's a lot of potential. And Danny Hünkel, he was, he's been known to be a really good GT racer for a long time. But, he didn't really have the prototype racing experience. So this is, a huge opportunity for him to go out there, and compete for overall wins. So I think that experience was, also very helpful for him. And Mike mentioned Jamie Chadwick. She's going to be like their test, development / reserve driver, for the Genesis program this year. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to get a full-time seat, but maybe that will be coming down the pipeline because Genesis is expected to be an IMSA at some point next season. I was reading on Sports Car 365, I think a few weeks ago, that Genesis may not, debut at the Rolex 24 next year. They may debut mid-season at the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen, instead, because it might be easier for them to get a program down pat. So for Jamie's sake there, hopefully she will be a part of an IMSA program if she's able to become, a full-blown factory driver and get a seat. But, getting back to Ford is really interesting how they're going to have Rockenfeller and Priaulx in the European Le Mans Series. I don't think Rockenfeller, necessarily needs the experience, of being in a prototype, but I guess since he's been racing GTs, like the last couple of years, is two different. You have to be in a different mindset in a GT car versus a prototype. So I guess what they have him mostly in a prototype this year, he'll be in that prototype mindset come 2027, and then Logan Sargeant. I think it'll be great for him to get to work directly, with Ford in that Ford Mustang in the WEC, because Logan doesn't really necessarily need that high downforce prototype experience. So I just think they'll be good for him to, get used to like the lingo with Ford and, just overall working with everyone there. So I think all three of their drivers are going to benefit, from that program.
100%. I can't wait to see exactly how I think Sargent's going to deliver in a car where it's not completely overpowered. So it's going to be easy to see. Of course, we all remember the last time he was in a Formula One car and the huge wreck he had. So, on to our second story of the evening. RFK Racing is entering a fourth car for next month's Daytona 500. Now, RFK already has 3 chartered entries locked in for the 68th running of the Great American Race with Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, and Ryan Preece. Now, the fourth entry will be an open car, as Corey LaJoie will need to qualify on time or race his way into the Daytona 500 through the duels. Now, LaJoie will drive the number 99 Ford with sponsorship from Trimble. Now, since Trackhouse abandoned the number 99 after Daniel Suarez's departure, this allowed RFK to reclaim the number made famous by its former driver, NASCAR Hall of Famer Carl Edwards. Now, LaJoie's role with RFK is continuing to grow as he's the team's reserve driver. Now, with Keselowski continuing to recover from his broken leg, LaJoie will drive his number 6 Ford in next week's Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. But with Keselowski expected to be back for the Daytona 500, the team will enter a fourth entry for LaJoie, as Keselowski stated having another Ford gives the Blue Oval a better chance at winning NASCAR's biggest race because it allows them to be more effective in forming drafting alliances, controlling lanes, and positioning themselves when it matters the most. Now, LaJoie said that this is a dream come true to get the best opportunity he's ever had at Daytona in a car like this. Graphic courtesy of RFK Racing. Well, Matt, last year, LaJoie raced his way into the Daytona 500 in an open car and led the race in a Rick Ware racing car. Can he make the most of his 2 big opportunities with RFK Racing to start this season?
Well, equipment-wise, you'd say RFK, Rick Ware, the scale is tipping the RFK way here, isn't it? Good to see Corey back. He's got plenty of super speedway reps and plenty of experience and will go well. Good to see the 99 back. Always been a fan of 99. Jeff Burton is also a famous 99 of the sort of recent past pre-Carl Edwards getting in that car. So that's always nice. And yeah, they needed someone with some experience, obviously, to fill in for Brad, as you've documented there, Josh, at Bowman Gray. which is next week. Can you believe we're already on? It's already about to be on top of us, the NASCAR season. But yeah, looking forward to see how Corey goes. He'll have to race his way in. The duels look like the duels again will be meaningful on what's that going to be, the Thursday night prior to the 500 again, which is always good when we've got a couple of spots to play for, if not more. So that's always good. And yeah, and hopefully did a little bit further down the track. If this is a successful run for him, there might be some more outings perhaps in the pipeline for Corey and this team going forward. Talladega springs to mind. Maybe Atlanta's week 2 of the season. If he has a good run at Daytona, gets in the race and does well, perhaps that's been talked about behind the scenes. We'll never know unless it happens, I guess. But yeah, let's hope that that Corey can get that car into the race and have a good run.
Absolutely. And Jason says, do you believe the different racing style between IMSA and WEC had a role or global marketing? I presume that's popping back to our, with Ford posing their drivers in different places. What do you think?
I tell you what, Jason, for the American Ford audience, they're a little bit out of the way, aren't they, if they're going to do WEC? The spotlight won't be so much on them as if they would be in IMSA once every 3 weeks or however the calendar works out. And there's plenty of big races at the start of the IMSA season, of course, with Daytona this weekend. Then we've got Sebring and Long Beach, although of course that's only a GTD race, not GTD Pro. But yeah, I think a little bit more out of the way. For someone like Logan, who's got to learn and he's got to get up to speed fairly quickly with his 2 very fairly experienced teammates. That'll keep him busy and not so much in the spotlight. And they don't want Ford. They've gone big, haven't they? Again, Ford last little while with the Red Bull stuff. Back with 888 Red Bull in supercars. The Raptor in Dakar. We'll talk about the Dakar in Hots and Knots. You can guarantee in a minute. And other Ford programs that are going on around the planet. So they don't want people showing up and no,
they do not.
At Zandvoort to Josh's comment before. So perhaps if he's a little bit more out of the way, not out of the way, but you know what I mean, away from the prying eyes of Detroit over in the WEC, then it might work out better. That's kind of the way I read some of that.
It's going to be a lot of fun coming into it. Are they still additional entries coming for the Daytona 500? I think we're locked in at 41, I read from Bob Pockrass.
I think so, yes. I don't know if I've seen anything extra that's going to pop up, but haven't really had my nose or ear to the ground this week on anything else. So unless we get a surprise come from sort of nowhere, from left field, and I think the field is fairly set of what we've got going forward.
It's going to be so fun. Nearly there. Less than a month now to go into it. So let's get back to NASCAR to come into it. Anthony Alfredo in the number 62 BM Motorsports Chevrolet. Apparently that's one also coming in. So that is the additional we've got at the moment. So after exploring the open wheel world racing last year, Hailie Deegan is returning to stock car racing. Now Deegan will drive the number 16 Chevrolet for Bill McAnally Racing in the ARCA Menards Series West with sponsorship from Napa Auto Care, Columbia Bank and Monster Energy. Now the last time that Deegan raced full-time in ARCA West was in 2018 and 2019 when she finished 5th and 3rd in points respectively. She has 3 ARCA West wins at Meridian, Las Vegas Dirt and Colorado, and in a video released on her YouTube channel, Deegan revealed that she'll also run some select races in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Now, in this 13-race ARCA West schedule this season, Deegan says that she has a goal of topping her 3 career wins by hopefully winning 4 races this year. She also has a goal of becoming the first female driver to win a championship in NASCAR. One of the tracks she's most excited about is Sonoma because she felt that she has road course racing skills have improved since spending last year in Indy Next and Deegan's only season in Indy Next, ended with a 14th place finish in the points and many struggles throughout the year. She said that while she's been away from stock cars for a bit, she's focused on coming back to the NASCAR world stronger by competing for wins and a championship, and the graphic courtesy of Bill McAnally Racing as well. Matt probably butchered that completely there for that, but I think I did all right. Is Hailie Deegan's opportunities dwindling? Is this really her last chance to prove herself as a driver after not living up to the expectations in Indy Next Trucks, or what's now known as the O'Reilly Series?
The Grand National Series. It's 11 o'clock. I think we'll let something slide. It's late.
NASCAR 2.
No. Hailie Deegan. I mean, it didn't go well, did it, last year in Indy Next? Really wasn't the year that she perhaps was thinking she might have. And she set herself some lofty goals straight away here, hasn't she? She wants to win the championship and she wants to win 4 races. I don't think you really should be coming out with all that. That's just something that's going to come back and bite you, frankly. But we'll see. I mean, she's got huge backing there with Napa and with Monster, of course, and in a great team with some big equipment. So, yeah, I mean, it has to perform, really. Now, I know I watch every single thing that goes around in circles under the sun, but I've not really dabbled too much in the ARCA West Championship, I'll be honest. So I'm not really sure of the level, but she needs to get back to some kind of. Now, last couple of years, you mentioned those wins, and through the truck, she was on a gradual upslope, but it took a dive, didn't it, with that half season in Xfinity a couple of years ago that didn't work, and then in the next last year, which was fairly poor. So, but again, we talked about that at the start of last year. She doesn't have any single series experience. How's she going to go? And we kind of, I think we all sort of said, let's see, but we don't expect too much out of her, and that's kind of what we got. So, again, let's see. It's big backing, big team, has to perform. Let's see what happens once the season gets into full swing.
Absolutely, everyone deserves a last chance. This is cool news for Hailie. I think she can compete for wins in the ARCA Menards Series West. Good luck to her. I echo that as well. Good luck. Jason says last opportunity for her in NASCAR. I'd say possibly last opportunity for her racing.
Yeah.
I mean, she's blowing everything up, really. Nowhere else to go.
Unless she's going to go and do some like GT4 or something in SRO or US or Michelin Pilot Challenge or something like that, which of course she has already had some prior experience in, did the race at Daytona a few years ago. So yeah, perhaps last chance. And I say with the backing that she's got there, Napa are going to want her to perform, as our Monster, who have obviously been a long time backer of not just her but the whole of the Deegan family over the years, Dad. So going to be interesting to see how she gets on.
Yeah, the only place she's really done good was the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge when she was doing starts with Ford. So that could be something coming up.
Had a bunch of the Ford youngsters from NASCAR in a car team. I think Kobe in the back will tell me was she in with Austin Cindric, or did I dream that a few years ago, or someone?
No, seems to be being in with Cindric.
Yeah, and some of the other young Ford guys of that generation. And as I check the messages, he thinks it was Ben Rhodes. So I think you might.
Well, we'll find out how much knowledge you now know, because it's time to hand over to you with the latest from the Grid EPI update.
Zane Smith and Harrison Burton won in the team car, says Kobe. So, yeah, bunch of young Ford guys. Yes, Grid Endurance Performance Index, and the first big 24-hour race of the season happened at the weekend. We've got another one coming this weekend, as we've been talking about with the Rolex 24 Daytona. But in the Middle East, at the weekend, we were at the Dubai Autodrome for the Michelin 24 Hours of Dubai, and it was won by WRT and their BMW M4, and the driving lineup of, as aforementioned in the show already, Ben Tuck, Anthony McIntosh, Jordan Pepper, Kelvin van der Linde, and Fran Rueda getting the victory after a long slog 24 hours. They were top of the tree, and they beat the team car of Stanislav Minsky, Mathieu Detry, Thomas Kiefer, Julian Hanses, and Christopher Haase by one clear lap, and those guys who finished second were 3 clear laps clear of the Winwood Mercedes that finished third, including Maro Engel and Lucas Stoltz. So congratulations to WRT, who have kind of bossed that Dubai 24 Hours for the last few years, and another win for them there. The Grid Endurance Performance Index spreadsheet is really starting to take shape after the weekend. Another big one to come, as I mentioned, this weekend coming up with the Rolex 24 at Daytona. And then we turn our focus back to the Asian Le Mans Series 4 races for them over the next 2 weeks, again at Dubai and at Abu Dhabi to finish the season. So the early part of the Grid Endurance Performance Index for 2026 taking shape, and we will unveil week 1 officially on our first show in April. No falls here. So that was the Dubai 24 hours done and dusted for one more year, and it is all eyes on the Rolex 24 at Daytona this weekend. Half an hour into the show, time to bring Kobe back. He's got more of the news from the week.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. Canadian short track star Cole Butcher will run full-time in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series this year. Butcher will drive the number 13 Ford F-150 for ThorSport Racing. He made 2 starts in the Truck Series last year with Halmar Friesen Racing at Bristol and Phoenix, scoring a pair of 23rd place finishes. Entering his rookie season, Butcher brings an impressive resume that includes an ASA Maritime Pro Stock Car title, another championship in the Southern Super Series, and 2 victories in the Oxford 250. Butcher thanked the Thorson family for giving him this opportunity, and he's ready to start working with the team. Photo courtesy of ThorSport Racing. Connor Mosack will run part-time this season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Mosack will serve as the anchor driver of the number 7 Chevrolet Silverado for Spire Motorsports. In 2025, Mosack ran with McAnally Hilgeman Racing and finished 14th in points. He was full-time, but this year he'll only compete in 12 races at St. Pete, Darlington, Watkins Glen, Michigan, San Diego, Lime Rock, IRP, New Hampshire, Bristol, Charlotte Roval, Phoenix, and Homestead. Mosack said he's eager to return to this organization because he enjoyed his previous stint with them 2 years ago. Graphic courtesy of Spire Motorsports. And for the 60th anniversary season of the Trans Am Series, legendary motorsports broadcaster Alan Bestwick will become their new lead commentator. Bestwick made his Trans Am broadcasting debut earlier today, 2 hours before our show tonight at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, when he hosted a 1-hour broadcast of the Trans Am preseason test at Sebring International Raceway. As the new voice of Trans Am, Bestwick will host 12 national championship races, each for the TA and GT classes, plus the TA2 series at 10 road courses. This year, we'll also see the debut of the TA Sprint Championship, which will consist of 5 50-mile races at 4 tracks, starting at Sebring, February 26th through March 1st. Trans Am president Andy Lally said he's been a huge fan of Bestwick for years and believes he's going to bring a lot to the series broadcast because he's enthusiastic about what they're trying to do. Graphic courtesy of Trans Am. Junior Motorsports announced the full driver lineup for the number 88 Chevrolet in the NASCAR Raleigh Auto Parts Series. As previously announced, Roger Carruth will serve as the anchor driver of the number 88 Chevrolet, which will have HendrickCars.com on board as the primary sponsor. Carruth will drive the car for 16 races during the regular season and all 9 races in the chase. Joining him will be 4 Cup drivers from Hendrick Motorsports, since Hendrick is fielding the number 17 Chevrolet full-time for development driver Corey Day. Obviously, that won't leave any room for their Cup drivers, so this entry at JRM will allow their 4 Cup drivers to continue getting extra track time in the Raleigh Autoport Series, in which will help the drivers on Sundays. William Byron will run 3 races at Phoenix, Kansas, and Pocono. Kyle Larson will also enter 3 races at Las Vegas, Bristol, and Texas. Meanwhile, Alex Bowman is only doing 2 races at Darlington and Nashville, while Chase Elliott fills out the seat with a 2-race schedule at Chicagoland and Indianapolis. JRM CEO Kelly Earnhardt Miller said she couldn't be happier to welcome the Hendrick Cup drivers back into the JRM family to join Carruth in the chase, no pun intended, to compete for the Owners' Championship, graphic courtesy of HendrickCars.com. And speaking of Cup drivers running in the NASCAR Raleigh Auto Parts Series, Jordan Anderson Racing announced that Ross Chastain will do 4 races with them. Chastain will get behind the wheel of the number 32 Chevrolet at Echo Park and Speedway, Coda, Watkins Glen, and Sonoma. Last year it was announced that Chastain would do additional races in the number 9 Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports. Again this season, sharing that ride with his Trackhouse Racing teammate Shane Van Gisbergen, since NASCAR decided to start letting full-time Cup drivers do more racing in the Raleigh Auto Parts Series and Craftsman Truck Series. Chastain has made it known that he wanted to run the maximum number of races possible in each series. Graphic courtesy of Jordan Anderson Racing. And after running full-time in the FIA World Endurance Championship for the last 2 years, MotoGP legend Valentino Rossi will make his full-time return to GT World Challenge Europe competition this year. Rossi will continue his relationship with Team WRT, sharing the number 56 BMW M4 GT3 at Max Hesse for the Sprint Cup races at Brands Hatch Misano, Monacours, Zandvoort, and Barcelona. Dan Harper will join them for the Endurance Cup races at Paul Ricard, Monza, Nürburgring, Portimao, and of course, the biggest race of all, the 24 Hours of Spa. It was also announced that Rossi will enter next month's Intercontinental GT Challenge season opener, the Bathurst 12-hour, and the number 46 Team WRT BMW, alongside BMW factory drivers Raffaele Marciello and Augusto Farfus, graphic courtesy of GT World Challenge Europe. And for the first time since 2023, Travis Pastrana will return to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Pastrana reunites with Nice Motorsports to drive the number 42 Chevrolet Silverado in the season opener at Daytona International Speedway with sponsorship from Brunt Workwear. He ran this race with the team 3 years ago, finished in 11, and he also previously worked with Nice CEO Cody Efall at RFK Racing back in 2013. Pastrana said it'll be fun to get back behind the wheel again at Daytona after being away for the last 3 years. Graphic courtesy of Nice Motorsports. And for the second consecutive year, Burt Myers is back next weekend for the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. Once again, the Bowman Gray Modified Legend will join forces with Team Amerivet, driving the number 50 Chevrolet in the NASCAR Cup Series exhibition race. Tibbetts Lumber, C3 Chevrolet, Forgiveco, Amerivet Securities, the Casey Caudill Foundation, Citrus Safer Cleaners, and ECR Engines will support Myers' entry. Tony Uri Jr. will also return as crew chief. Myers said his experience in the class last year left the team wanting more, and he felt very appreciative of everyone believing in him to give it another shot. Graphic courtesy of Team Amerivet. Phil Hansen received a promotion from Ferrari to become a factory driver. And last year, Hansen, he competed with the Privateer AF Corsa team in that number 83 and ended up winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans. And I guess the next natural step was to promote him to full Ferrari factory driver status. And Hansen over the years has been working really hard to get an opportunity like this, been racing in LMP2 for the last several years. And then the last couple of years, been in the hypercar class. And after all the success he's had in LMP2 and then winning Le Mans last year, I think he also has another LMP2 class win at Le Mans. So when you add all that together, I guess it was just a matter of time before Hansen will get the huge opportunity to become a Ferrari factory driver. And in a statement, he says he's immensely proud to join Ferrari as an official factory driver and to continue his journey in the WEC. He said he's admired Ferrari since he was a kid, but it wasn't until working for Ferrari last year that he came to appreciate the team's relentless pursuit of winning. And he's honored to be able to continue to build upon the success they achieved last year. But above all, it's just special for him to become a member of the Prancing Horse family in an official capacity, graphic courtesy of Ferrari. And after many years away from the sport, Hardee's is returning to NASCAR, and Hardee's they're going to serve as the official quick service restaurant of NASCAR. In addition, Hardee's is also going to become a primary sponsor at 2311 Racing with a number 23 team of Bubba Wallace. They're going to be sponsoring the number 23 Toyota for select races. And the first race where you're going to see Hardee's on Bubba Wallace's car is going to be in Martinsville early on in the season. And for many decades, Hardee's has been, a historic brand in NASCAR, especially during the 1980s and the 1990s, because Hardee's was able to achieve 12 NASCAR Cup Series victories over the years, with the likes of Bobby Allison, Kel Yarborough, Alan Kulwicki, and Dale Jarrett. So this is really coming full circle now to be able to get the Hardee's back in NASCAR. It's on Bubba Wallace's car. And in a statement, Bubba Wallace said that NASCAR is built on legacy, and Hardee's has been a part of some of the most iconic moments in NASCAR history. And he said to bring the history forward with 2311 is really special. And he's looking forward to representing the brand that means so much to NASCAR story. And he said fans know the Hardee's paint schemes of the past, and he's really excited to create new memories for a long time and the newer fans as well. Graphic courtesy of 2311 Racing. And another story we have, defending F1 Academy champion Dorian Pan is going to become a Mercedes F1 development driver this year. And this is the next natural step for Dorian. Is she's going to her responsibilities. She's going to be working in the simulator and also participating in other activities at the factory and also trackside as well. And while Mercedes weren't able to confirm it today, they announced that they're going to have a racing program for her as well. So she will be racing something later this year. And as you know, spending a few years in the Mercedes Junior program, you know, she was able to get this huge promotion to become a development driver. And we'll see where this takes her career after winning F1 Academy title last year. In a statement, she said that she's very proud and grateful to take on the role of development driver with the team. And she believed that in the last 2 years, she learned so much to help her grow as a driver. And she believes that this is a fantastic next step. And she's also very excited to continue working with everybody, you know, at Brackley and Brixworth and continue progressing in the future. Graphic courtesy of Mercedes. In our last story for tonight, last Friday at the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina, there was a public remembrance for the late Greg Biffle, his family, and others who were killed in a plane crash in Statesville last month. One of the speakers at the event was his close friend, YouTuber turned race car driver Garrett Mitchell, also known as Cletus McFarland. Mitchell left some impactful words for folks to remember by explaining what the mantra, "Be like Biff," means. In his exact words, he said, "Be like Biff" means to take opportunities when you see them, whether you're taking the opportunity to pass somebody on the track or getting off your couch and chasing the dream you've been talking about for the last 5 years. It means showing up for your family and friends. It means using your heart to make the world a better place. It means being generous whenever you can and helping other humans when they're down. And after the ceremony ended in Charlotte, Mitchell traveled to nearby Mooresville to do a burnout in honor of Biffle and in a limousine, something that he believed the NASCAR legend would have truly enjoyed. Photo and graphic courtesy of RFK Racing. Those are all the headlines I have for you this week. Next, I'm going to turn over to Matt.
Thank you, Kobe. Before we get to pick a winner, which is coming up, it is time for episode 2. I've got my piece of paper ready again. It is Cali Watch. A WRC champion turned open wheel sensation. Let's hope we're keeping an eye on what the young Rockenfeller can do. And in his second weekend of single-seater action at the weekend, they were carrying on in New Zealand for the Castrol Formula Regional Championship. And they were at Taupo, the Supercars venue and Formula A1 Grand Prix venue. More on that in a moment. 4 races again at the weekend. 16th, 10th, 12th and 9th at the weekend for Calais. So 2 top 10s. His best result of the weekend last weekend at Hampton Downs was a 12th. So progression. That's what we like to see. He did all 4 races because he had a DNF in the first weekend. So good stuff happening here for Hailie Deegan, and hopefully those top 10s will continue next weekend when we get to Teretonga, which is on the South Island. So we've had our 2 races on the North Island, 2 weekends on the North Island, and then they go to the South Island of New Zealand this week for Teretonga, and then Highlands Motorsport Park for the conclusion of the season in 2 weeks' time. Cali Watch will continue with episode 3 next week. Right, we've been talking a lot of sports cars on the show tonight, and with good reason, because it is the IMSA Rolex 24 at Daytona, and that means it is our first sports car opportunity to do Pick a Winner. Hashtag Pick a Winner indeed. There are the rules on screen. IMSA is the only sports car championship that we include for Pick a Winner every season, and of course that means it starts with the Rolex 24, and you can get yourself straight on the leaderboard this weekend if you can correctly pick a winner. There is the leaderboard. Alex and Jason with a point each from the 2 Formula E races that we have had at score for the 2026 Pick a Winner. Get your selections in the YouTube comments or across all of the social medias, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, all of them, TikTok, all of the stuff, and get your picks in. We'll do Rolex first, and then we will do Rally Monte Carlo, which is also this weekend. At the Rolex, Porsche on for a 3 in a row if they can do it with the 7 car. I believe that will not happen. I am going to go with the Shank 60, the Michael Shank 60 car to get back to victory lane at Daytona at the weekend. Kobe, what say you?
Yes, it was really interesting following the roar before the 24. Last weekend, you know, the Porsches look really strong throughout the race, but I think, you know, when you look at the Rolex 24, it's not necessarily the fastest who goes out there and wins the race. You have to do more than just be fast. You can have the pace, you know, and run into issues and not win this race. But I think I've been looking at one manufacturer, you know, it's not as fast as the Porsche doesn't look like, but, you know, it looks like it's going to be reliable and consistent. I'm going to go with one of the Cadillacs. Going to go with the number 31 Wheeling Engineering Cadillac of Jack Aiken. Earl Bamber, Frederick Vesti, and also upcoming NASCAR Cup Series rookie, the young sensation Connor Zillage. I think Connor Zillage is going to get him another Rolex watch. I think he's going to be the good luck charm for Action Express Racing to win this year's Rolex 24. And also wanted to bring up another note. It was really nice to see IMSA decide to broadcast the night practice live on Saturday night, and then they also did the Sunday session as well, to conclude the Roar. So I thought it was really nice that IMSA decided, to actually show footage from the Roar, and it seems like there could be more opportunities in the future there. So really looking forward to seeing what IMSA is doing on the digital side this year. Who you got, Josh?
Well, I was commentating and taking a look at those sessions throughout, and the one that stuck to me is the 85 JDC Miller Motorsports. It was top of numerous sessions as well, and it was right up there with the Porsche Penske pace. So I think they could win overall, and I've got a feeling I might know who might win GTD Pro, and that's going to be the number 75. Will Power may have had an off, but they were continuously at the top of that class as well, and they could win overall. Only a fraction of a second separated them across the top of all sessions. So I'm overall going for the 85 JDC Miller Motorsports.
The last privateer standing in Hypercar. So that is our Rolex selections. Of course, as always, you've got up until the green flag to get your picks rubber stamped in. So with qualifying and stuff to still to go, we could see changes there. We'll see what happens. We also, as I mentioned, have WRC kicking off their 2026 season this weekend with its always spectacular classic, the Rally Monte Carlo. Now, this gets underway tomorrow evening European time. So you need to get your pick in fairly well within the next 20 hours from as I sit and speaking to you now to get yourself on the board with a correct guess, of course. And there can only really be one selection for this. The King of Monte, the man that's going for his 10th championship this year, Sébastien Ogier, is my pick for Monte Carlo this weekend.
Yeah, I'm also going with Sébastien Ogier as well. It's really crazy, see the longevity of this guy in rally racing, and who knows when he's going to stop. But it's really great to see that he's coming back, and I'm sure he's going to win multiple rallies this year. And how many ever starts he has? Maybe he's in a similar position as last year, where, hey, I think I'm going to run part-time, but hey, everybody else is, falling on their face. But despite running part-time, I'm in the hunt again, so I'm just going to go full-time at the end of the year. It would not surprise me if that happens again with Sébastien Ogier.
So again, get your pick in for Rally Monte Carlo pretty sharpish because it gets underway in the darkness local time. Tomorrow, Adam is going with me with the 60 Shank team to win at Daytona, and he's also going with me for Seb Ogier to win on the snowy hills of southern France. Jason also going for Monsieur Ogier. I'm not entirely sure what the weather is going to be. There can only be two things that stop Sébastien Ogier in Monte Carlo this weekend: a bad tyre selection or mechanical failure. So we'll see what happens. Good to see Kalle Rovanperä improving in Luzin. Yeah, it is, Adam. And then we'll, of course, keep following him throughout the season as he steps into Super Formula in Japan, which kicks off in the middle of March off the top of my head. And also giving a thumbs up to Cletus McFarland from the memorial there for the Biff last week. Happy for Alan Bestwick too. That was going to be one of my hots. Kobe also stole one of my hots, which was the raw practice being broadcast on IMSA's YouTube channel. That is good to see, and hopefully they get more of that. So let's pile in 2 hots and nots. But quickly, before we do that, there's not often we get to do something that's happening now on this show. So let me bring you up to speed with what's been happening in London tonight at the Autosport Awards, which shouldn't be happening now. It should be happening before Christmas because that's when it always used to happen. But let me bring you some winners as per their Twitter feed. Robert Kubica, Phil Hansen, and Yifa Ye have won the Moment of the Year for winning Le Mans last year, which, wasn't a dry Polish eye in the house. Rookie of the Year, has gone to Isaac Hadjar, and he's already said today that he is going to be a contender for the championship this year. We shall see. It's possible. Driver of the Year, of course, Max Verstappen, although he didn't win the championship. Team of the Year and Competition Car of the Year have gone to McLaren. Lando Norris has won the British Competition Driver of the Year. And I've scrolled to the top. Have we had the actual award announcement yet? If we have, they haven't posted it. So the actual proper award that the young driver, the BRDC young driver, has not yet been selected, or if it has, it hasn't been posted, but it's 11:30, so I can't imagine that awards ceremony is still going on.
They're
More
all
on
in
that
the bar now.
Yeah, exactly right. Right then, hots and knots for the week. Where do you want to start?
I have absolutely no idea.
I have.
Definitely go on. Definitely a hot though was IMSA streaming, 110%. Red Bull's livery is actually different this year.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only good thing I can think of that's happened this week.
Audi's is a disappointment. I have to say, they could have done something good. The prototypes always look magnificent, and the Formula One car looks just a bit naff.
We saw the livery in November. It's the same one. Yeah. And they made us wait for it. They said, we're bringing you on this immersive experience. Yeah, steer simulator. We watched 50, 60 people walk up some stairs for 5 minutes and then had a 5-minute countdown watching some interesting singing of This Is the Beginning. I felt like I was watching the beginning of a musical. I really did. It was quite, how do I put annoying? It was so, like, at least put it in German. You had opera singing in British. It doesn't sound good. Put it in German and it would sound better. Yeah, hell, put it in, come on. Oh, well, it's hardly John Giovanni, is it? Either way, it was bad. It was bad. That was the worst one, actually, I think. Although I must, Red Bull putting it at 3 a.m. really annoyed me having to wake up for that.
Yeah, well, that's to fall in with all the other stuff that we talked about at the top of the show. My hot of the week comes from a very warm Saudi at the Dakar, where after 2 weeks of competition and thousands of kilometers traveled, how many seconds was the bike race won by? 2. Luciano Benavides winning by 2 seconds.
It's insane.
In the bike race. What? Crazy. And congratulations to Nasser Al-Attiyah for winning his 6th Dakar, putting himself on the pantheon list of Dakar winners. If there was a Mount Rushmore for Dakar winners, he's just chiseled his way onto it.
He'd be on it straight away, like all the time as well. He is just insane. I don't know how much it takes to win a Dakar, because it is just the most, I think, grueling form of motorsport we can think of. It's insane.
I hope James May was watching, because NASA won in a Dacia.
Yeah.
Good news, everyone. And that was good news. I don't think I've got any knots, because, of course, we're just slowly ramping towards, I mean, this weekend, and then it's F1 testing next week, then it's Bowman Gray, the walking simulator, says Omi.
Well, I've got my sim here. I've been racing this evening on some simulators. I tell you what, though, do you want a hot? Let's have a retro hot. I've done several laps around the original Interlagos tonight, just before we come on the show tonight. My God, were they insane. It is such a fast track. And if you get it wrong, you get launched into trees and everything. The unbelievable skill is fantastic. And honestly, I'm really enjoying finally being able to go around old tracks. Yeah, it's a new feature I might have coming up. But it's brilliant. I'm loving it. So that's, I think, respect for the old drivers, because they really do, like, oh my God.
Superhumans. Adam says, what's hot? MX5 Cup at Daytona this weekend. Friday, tomorrow and Saturday are the 2 MX5 races. They're already on IMSA's thing scheduled to go on their YouTube channel. I've already got them in my list. So looking forward to those as ever. Hopefully they don't, as I said last week, pile them all up on the start like they did last year.
I think Omi was saying about wanting to cover them. I don't know. He's still there, but I don't know. But it's just Mazda's Daytona equals the best race of the year.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
And then they're at Sebring, which when they go to Sebring in March is also great too, because of all the slipstream effects. So looking forward to all of those.
Anyway, I've run out of them both. You?
Yeah, I've run out of all things, including trying to keep my eyes open. So
it's
which
late.
you'll be having to do all weekend doing the Rolex.
Oh, why do I do this to myself? First of all, I've got a plug as well coming in that we are live for the whole 24 hours, but just before we've got the Grid Tonight show as well, the Grid Live pre-race show as well, and that's going to be absolutely insane with the upcoming schedule. Do the Phoenix track. Oh, do you know? Yeah, I've always wanted. I've never done that. I did Detroit earlier on, and literally the only part I recognise from the IndyCar days is the last chicane before they go down to take the checker flag area. That's it. There's nothing else about it that's the same.
What did I watch recently? The first IndyCar race there after F1 left was 89. And I'm looking at it going, I don't recognise any of this. Oh, I know where that bit goes from turn 1 up the hill and then they go the other way. And it was like, oh, okay, this is all very strange.
Omi and the team can back me up on this. On the simulator we've got, there's no directions, so no breakpoints. And I instinctively wanted to turn left, but hit my mic. Yeah, but exactly, donk, hit the wall because it's a right turn. So I'm like, I can't go one way or the other. So it does mess with your mind. But everybody, please try out a simulator. They're so much fun and it really gets you back in for the racing spirit. Yes, so taking a look at our upcoming schedule, Saturday, Grid Live pre-race at noon Eastern. That is previewing the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship season opener. That's the 64th running of the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up. That's back 90 minutes after the Rolex 24 Hours as well. I will be live for the whole 24 hours as well. The link is in the description as well to JB Motorsports. Come along because it'll be the pre-show here. Come and watch along. The boys will be with us hopefully at some points as well. And then we'll bang on straight away for the review show just after. Please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you liked what you saw tonight, you can send us a YouTube super chat to show your appreciation. We've now passed 1,700 subscribers. Help us reach, please, our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air, and follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, Matthew, Crystal, and our newest Patreon supporter, Nico, who all invest in the Grid Network each month. And we encourage you to join these fine folks who keep us on the air all year long. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. The link is all in the video description. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, invest as much as you want, and consider buying your favourite on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. So there we go. One more show of waffle done. Racing starts this week. It's the Rolex 24 Hours. Grid will have the pre and post show. Join us for that. For Kobe Lambeth and Matt White from the Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. And finally, let's go racing!